Right. How are you? Thank you. Can you see my screen, guys? Yeah, now I'm feeling better. Thank you, Ravi. Morning is still worse, but it's better than the previous week. Yeah. And thank you guys for recommending lots of medicine. I don't know. On the Zoom, I am feeling lonely. Like there are 100+ people. Still, I'm feeling like no disturbance. Maybe I don't know what's there, or by default it's off. Yeah, true. Yes, yes, true, true. Yeah, because we don't see. Hey, Vinjay, how are you? And now I hope everyone is able to access the Zoom. I got lots of requests last week that they are not able to access due to maybe some access issue. I think you also feel the same for other courses. So I don't know what happened. I was not able to access to. Maybe there were some issue on the. Oh, only two courses uses the Zoom. Yeah, I always use like whatever they ask. Latest one, I don't want to bother in between when they say, okay, we are going to remove the support. Yeah. But again, we cannot escape right from this. So I just started using that. Maybe this is the last semester for you, but for me, I don't know. I want to take rest now for coming to semester. Yeah. Yes, so I think you will be awarded in the summer, right? Midsummer or start of summer, June. Yeah, it's mid of the semester. Okay. Yeah, that time it would be open. Hope you can meet each other. Yeah, you can use the metaverse, right? That's a good idea. Okay, so let's get started because I have lots of things to share and lots of things to implement. Okay, I also want to discuss the assignment one. I can update the wording if you don't understand. Okay, so we'll do that. So first, let's see what we will see today. Okay, so this is the week 3. So let me go to the course outline first. So this week we are going to see working with the sockets, right? So last time on the last week, like we have seen creating the streams, right? So here we are introducing the third stream, that's the bidirectional. Okay, so we will see the socket, and remember, based on the socket express and database, there will be a lab test one, right? So I'm just giving you little idea about like what will be there in the lab test one. Okay, so please read the document in your way, refer anything outside of this content what I'm going to share, but I will just introduce you with the basic concept how it works. Okay, and how to work with the multiple sockets, and we will see how to write some test cases using the mocha and the chai. Okay, so the lab test one, so hey, would be based on the socket, right? So you are aware with the express, you are aware with the API development, you are aware with Mongo, right? And I will introduce the socket, right? So there will be mix of that. Okay, you just receive some data, store to the Mongo, display it on the history or the user page like that. Okay, and the test framework. So I have covered the test framework for the lab, lab exercise. So we will see lab exercise based on the testing, and I haven't put anything in the uh, lab exercise for the socket. So lab exercise is purely on the testing. So you write 2 3 test cases, and we will cover socket in the lab test. So everything will be covered. Okay, and next week we will going to see little bit more about the MongoDB and the Mongoose. Okay, so you can use your same account what you used last semester. And we will see like query sorting, some advanced concept little more, and validation. We already seen this validation, but we'll again see that. So I just want to cover little bit these 2 week in next week, like some content would be there, right? So we can spend more time on the GraphQL. Okay, so this is week of the socket, and for submission today we'll have one lab exercise that's based on the testing framework. Okay, and we will also have the 10 question lecture quiz. Okay, so that's due tomorrow day end, and I will discuss the assignment one. Okay. Yes, based on the socket, same content. I'm just good. Maybe little 1 or 2 question of the previous week. Okay, but it won't be that much complex, so you can do that. Okay, now let's move to the week 3. Are you able to uh, open, because it's too much content there? So it's take some time. Right, so I already opened that here. Okay, so altogether you have 23 slide, but I have more graphics there. Okay, so this is very interesting topic. Like I like this socket one because I have created some of the project for the chatting. So you can explore more here. Okay, now let's get started with the socket IO. Okay, so uh, as I have discussed, like when we have the stream, so we have the bidirectional, right? So socket IO is enable real time bidirectional event based. So same thing, like when we have the streams, we put the data, like we push the data, we will get in a data event, right? So it was the event based. So again, socket is also bidirectional event based communication. Okay, so we can create socket on the client, and we can communicate, and we can pass the data right from client to server, server to client, like that in the bidirectional. Okay, now before moving forward, anyone had work on any chat application, like apart from the socket? Like socket is, let's say, for the web we are using anything networking, like Java has the RMI, like remote method invocation, maybe something. Corba was there. Anything similar you have used for any application? Okay. Okay. So yeah, so when we go for the desktop application, right, means the standalone application which run on the computer after installing like other software, right? So we have, if you go to the .NET, we have the marshalling, like converting, right? So there is also remote method invocation. WebSocket concept is also there, like in the classical VB. In Java, we can also have the socket programming, right? We can also have the RMI, right? Remote method invocation. Lots of way of communicating, right? So what was the concept in the WebSocket, right? So here we will have the WebSocket. So WebSocket was the concept previously. So what was the concept? So let's say when you create the socket, so that's the server socket. So the server socket will always listen to the client request, okay, the coming up, like the incoming sockets. So that was the concept. Okay, we create the socket, we call a server socket because we define the port number and we put in a listen mode, same as the web server also work like that. So when the request comes, so what happened, that socket will listen and create the copy of that, right? Something like that. So it will create the copy and assign that socket to that client. And there is also inter client communication. We can do communication within the sockets, and then again server start listening to another request. But that's why we have the pool, like, okay, you can create only maximum 10 sockets, right? So if client is disconnected, we can remove that and we can allocate another client. So that was some logical part, right? But and then the socket can communicate with each other, right? That was the high level overview. So all the current socket IO is based on the web socket, right? So client side and the node is developed using the client side and the node. So it works on every platform. So you see, when you create the socket, it can be run on any browser, it can run on any platform, right? So browse on or device focusing equally or reliably and the speed. Now let's say if you create any web application, you want to do the chat feature. So you can use this socket. When you click the chat button, it will connect to the backend, let's say socket, and it start communicating. So there is application involved, like, okay, two people are chatting, something like that, right? And in the logic they just notify. So everything is about just writing the logic, but how to connect is the most important part. Yes, socket, yeah, so WebSocket, you see WebSocket API was there in the WebSocket API were there, so it's built on top of that, right? So Arman, yes, socket we use socket IO, but there is also web sockets available, but the underlying technology is the same, right? So both are different, but it's same as like we use HTTP server and we use the Express, right? Underlying we don't know what they use, but here WebSocket is used by the socket IO, right? It's separately designed, like for simplicity. So socket IO is a JavaScript library. Now you see we can have, it's like a module. So now here we will start creating some complex project, like we will add the node mon and we will add some other uh, modules to make our application like work for like web based and the chat, right? So we require to have some uh, modules. So we will see what module to install with this. So it's a real-time web application, right? So whenever you say real-time means instantly you will get the response. Now push notification on the mobile or the web, that's the real time. Something got updated, you get the notification. Someone like your post on the Facebook or LinkedIn, you get the notification, right? So someone send you the friend request, everything is real time, right? Means limit within the specific time, we can say real time is that. So this is like live chatting, right? There is no offline, but when you send the message, you can store that message, that someone message. That was a different concept, right? So here we are using like it's used for the real-time application, right? And it's a bi-directional, so one socket can be used like web server communication. Yeah, so you can use with any uh, front end, right? It's just HTML, you import it and you just use it. We will see that we need one web page, otherwise we cannot create the client, right? So we require to have the client. So it has a two parts. the client side library, you see, and the server side library. So two libraries are there. But here there is a new way of adding that. So you install the library on the server like module. You can just import that, but you require to have that on your client side, or you can have the separate library on the client side, right? So we will see how we can do that. And the clients run on the browser. You see, we are running on the browser and the server runs on the node side. But when we will install the module on the server, we can use the same library to import on the client side. So we don't have to bring from anywhere else. If you change the path, it won't work. Right? So we will see how it works. I think they changed the architecture, how it's organized. Right now, lots of we can say the real-time collaboration like Microsoft Office on the cloud. When you are updating, there might be some real-time communication. You can use that Yammer, Zendesk. These are some of the applications which are using the socket in the back, right? Just for some of the communication, right? And it's more powerful JavaScript framework on the GitHub. So it's again available freely, and most depend on the NPM modules. So we will install the NPM modules there. Now, if you see the architecture, like the node application is there, means the node server. We have the instant of the socket IO as a server. Okay? So we will see how it is initiated. It's same as we do with the stream. Right? So stream was having the same concept like what we are going to use in the socket, but this is a bidirectional and event based. So we have the server here. Now multiple client can be initiated. Like you open the same browser, same application in multiple browser. So that's the client. Remember, if you try to open maybe multiple tab, we can say one. I will open the multiple browser to demonstrate that okay, two clients are connected. Right? So client server IO, client leaves. You see, it required to have the clients are leave. So we will see how to import that, how to create that, and client one, client two, client. These are the same code, but multiple instance of the browser. But server is one, and it can have the communication here. Make sense? So multiple client, and you can send a message. Okay, you have set up the code like that. You send the message, server receives, servers identify which client sends and where to send, and you send accordingly to the client 2 or client 3 based on how many connections, right? Right. So this is a real-time application. So instant messenger, push notification, collaboration application, and online gaming. So these all are application are using the real time. Those are the real time application. Now, before moving forward, I want to ask one question. What we say like real time applications. These are the example like WhatsApp is there, Facebook is there, right? So any other technique you known to, or any other we can say mechanism like to notify client right from the server. So yeah, live chat bot is there, but what I want to do, the question is that okay, I can retrieve any information from the server. Okay, so that's the concept we know. Okay, server can client request to the server, and server can return you the information, right? So that's the request. Who initiate the request? Client initiate the request. But I want to know like how you will solve the problem that server sends something to the client, right? If something happens on the server side, server want to let all client know that something happened on the server based on the requirement, right? So any technique apart from this socket? Okay, so interact with the backend on set interval which return the changes. Okay, okay, notification, yes, like notification, push notification. Okay, okay, I'm seeking for one more terminology. Anyone knows long pulling, concept of long pulling? Yes, HTTP pulling. Yeah. Okay, okay. So let me explain that. So that was the we used. I will also explain like where we can use that. So long pulling is the concept that is HTTP based, right? So what happened? Traditionally client request to the server that they give me the information. and server gives the information based on the availability. If I am requesting some information and server don't have that information, so what happened? Again, I have to reinitiate after 5 times, or maybe server say, okay, try after 5 minutes, try after some time, something like that. Again, I have to refresh or send the request, right? So what happened in that case? I am sending the request and I'm getting the response. But if there is no response, again I have to send it, right? But what happened in the long polling? You send the request, server knows that okay, I don't have the information. Server will hold the request. Okay, means it will keep the open. There is a one request open. Same thing, you get the request and you put in the queue, and when there is a chance, you say, okay, information is available, take that. Now, okay, so what happened? You send the request to the server. Server don't have the information. Server will keep that request open. That okay, one client is waiting for some information. When the information is available, server will send information to the client. So that's the long polling. We don't wait. It's something like real time. But what happened? It's a server consuming process. Like server will consume lots of resources and it's complex. Right? You to enable those services. So we are using that in a bidding, right? So when you are, I'm using, I have one Java application. We are using long polling, HTTP long polling, where it is activated when we have auction. Like when there is a live auction, if someone outbid or someone purchase, they will send the notification like, okay, someone outbid you. Notification is different, push notification. We are notifying to the client that okay, you outbid, right? Frequently. Now when information available, now a connection is released. Now again, client will release the client will initiate another request, and then server will hold it. No information available, it cannot say okay, information not available, and client will again initiate that, right? But there is a server consuming process. But if you use the socket, it's different, because a socket knows, the logic knows, right? We write the logic like that. Okay, this client is connected. If information is available, we distribute that, right? Now there is also a configuration of the interest, like okay, server is returning lots of information, right? So you see, server can return any weather information, for example, but you are interested only specific time, like okay, give me only about the rain or about the snow, about the wind, like that. If something got changed, you are just subscribing to the topic. I just interested in this topic, so you will be in different pool. There is a lots of information available, but as a client, you are subscribed to specific topic. So only that topic changes, you get the notification, right? So there is also configuration like that. So if you have work on the mobile or the web push notification, we can configure like that, right? So similar concept is there available in the socket. Okay, so I hope everyone understand what I'm trying to say. That was very traditional one, but socket is easier than that, right? Because we can have the collection of the client. We know to which client is connected, which client is live, like that. Right? So these are some of the application for the real time. Okay, now I just want to write small example here. Okay, so we are just writing the first. I just use a code just to explain. We can use the express here. Okay, and we will use the express. We will not use this one. Now you see the line. I'm using the express here, HTTP server I'm creating there, and then I'm sending the file. You see, when I load localhost 3000, like 3000, I will load one HTML page. Okay, now you will have the question that okay, why we require the HTML? So why we require? Because we need to provide the interface to the user that okay, initiate the chat from here. We need to provide the client side code, right? That work as a messaging, right? So we must have one HTML page. You cannot write the code directly in the browser that okay, start chatting. So we are providing the interface here. Just hello world is that, but we will write the code for client side. Make sense? Yeah. So Omar, PHP, you can also use the PHP. Yeah. Okay. So remember, we require one HTML page or the client side, I can say, which will initiate the communication, because server will not initiate. Client want to communicate with other client, like that. So we require one page. So this is just for demonstrating that we require one HTML page. Then we will write some code here for client. Okay. And we haven't created any server socket here, just HTTP express application and send one HTML page. Remember, you cannot send the API, even API is not allowed. Okay, so let's move forward and see based on the event. Okay, so we know now we require the client. Now let's see the event handling. So socket is bidirectional event based, right? So event based streaming. Let's say like that. So it has some predefined events, same as we have some predefined event in the last week lecture, like for the stream, that okay, data is available, finish is there, end was there, error was there, right? So lots of events, predefined events were there. So here we have connect. Connect means what? Where there is a new client connected, we will get this call. Okay. Socket.on, right? On connect. So now whenever you establish the connection, automatically connect will call. So you will get to know that new client is connected. When someone send the message, this event is initiated and you will get that, okay, client sent the message, and then we can identify which client sent, because it also has some information about that. Disconnect. If you close the browser, automatically disconnected will be called on the server side that, okay, someone got disconnected. So you will also get the information that which client disconnected. Reconnection, retrying, right? Ping, like you can just verify whether the server is on or off, and then you start connecting. Join, right? So these are some for the chat. You join particular groups. So we have some concept here, like namespace is there. You can also have specific groups of the socket, right? So specific user connect there and leave, right? So you can join the group or you can leave the group, same as you creating the chat, but there are some room, right? We call here room. So I just explain like a group that, okay, you're interested in discussing the Node.js. So you create room for Node.js. If you're interested in Java, so you can create the Java room. So those who want to join that group, they can connect to that. And all the people inside that group can communicate, right? So if you have used the, because I don't use the chat online, but I have used the Yahoo Messenger long back. I don't know if you have used Yahoo Messenger. Yahoo Messenger has a list of rooms. Yeah, yeah. I don't use Discord, but I'm known to the this concept very well from the Yahoo Messenger. Right now, it's not popular, but the pioneer was there in the chat. So you have various group. Okay, connect from this country and interested in discussing about some of the title, right? So you have the groups. So remember this. So you can also have the groups. So in the lab test, I will give you, okay, create some groups, means room, we call the rooms, right? Room, right? Yeah, group is fine. You can have the group, but it's like room, one room. You can join that room and discuss, right? You can also leave that group, right? So in the WhatsApp, we have the groups, but actually those are the concepts as a room in the backend, right? So we can join the room and we can leave the group. So this is for that. Now on the client side, we can connect. Okay, I want to connect. So I say, okay, connect. So when I initiate the connect, it will connect to the server, and this connect will be called. Connection error. You might get error. Server is not responding. Something went wrong on the server. You will get this error. Connection timeout. If you're not able to connect, right, within some of the time, you will get the timeout. And reconnect. You are reconnecting, trying, like you'll get the message. Because these are some of the predefined event. You can check the document. You will get lots of predefined. And again, we can have our own. We can create our own event, right? So I can say, okay, disconnect, I want to rename that. So I can create the own and I can emit. So when you want to create your own, you have to mandatorily use the emit, right? So we will see that events, we can add our own. Now let's review the code. Okay, just take a time. So this is, we say, on the server side. Okay, so you see, I got the socket IO and then HTTP. Then I have the get, I'm writing the HTTP. So when I say localhost colon 3000, it will send the index HTML, right? So that was code for the client side, but we haven't discussed that. But on the server side, I have the IO IO means input output socket, this one. On, the connection. So this is the predefined event. So this will be initiated when new client got connected. Now you see the parameter is the socket. So this socket contain all the information. You can explore that. I can log that, okay, a user connected. I don't bother which user connected, just any client open. Then after some time, I'm sending the message. You see, after 4 seconds, I'm just waiting. I'm mimicking that server is taking some time. So after 4 seconds, I'm sending the message. You see, which socket? Socket dot send. Everything is within this one. Socket dot send and the message. So this will send message to the socket which connected here. That send a message 4 seconds after connection. Or I can say, welcome to the chat. Okay, what question you want? You can send anything. So socket, you have to use this socket. So socket, we got the welcome message, right? And when you close the browser, disconnect, this event will be called the user disconnected. Very basic. Just see on connection, on server side, most of the time you will see the on event because it's accepting all the event. And if you want to send back anything, we have the send or join something, right? We will see those methods, right? Based on the payload, we can also send the data there. Make sense, guys? Understand? So socket connection disconnect. I just wrote the two event here. Okay. Now this is the one piece of code can handle any number of client, right? So we got this one. Now next we can also have the namespace, right? So this is a very basic. Every client is connected at one place, and we can, if you broadcast, it will be sent to anyone, right? So little more specific, there is a concept of the namespace. So by default, there is one namespace available. You can also categorize, right? So you see, sir, default message, by default you can send the message to every client, but if other type of user login, you may send the message. So there is a two, we can say the channel, like two types, admin user and the user, normal user, like that. So you can have the two separate response using the namespace. So you see, socket I allow you to namespace your socket, which essentially make assign different endpoint of the path. A namespace is communication channel that allow you to split the logic of your application. Let's say specific user wants specific message to be sent. So we can group those user in the namespace. Now you see, namespace is created on the server side. Client cannot say, okay, I want to join like that. So join is the joining the room from the client side about the chat. So this namespace is just organizing our user connection, right? This is useful feature to minimize the number of resources, TCP connection, and at the same time separate of concern, right? So based on the requirement, we can categorize. Right? If our namespace is having 10 connection, create another one. So we have limit, like, okay, per namespace you can have the 10. So you can group that. Okay, multiple namespace actually share the same WebSocket. You see, it uses the same socket to send, but this is the just organization. Right? We can call default namespace. So default namespace is there, and it's one socket IO client connect by the default. So one default is there, but if you want to name it, you see, IO my namespace. I can name anything. You see, I just created a socket directly. I have no namespace, so it's a default namespace, but I can create the namespace like these two. So two separate socket. Based on the namespace, we can say join that. Okay, so we will see that in the example. You see, this is the default creation. Get send that HTML back, NSP my namespace. Now you see, when you got connected, you see, you got the connection, NPS emit. So what happened? This namespace, you got the connection. Now based on the logic, you can say, okay, if socket contain this information, use this namespace to send the data, or use another namespace to send the data. So NSP is this one, emit. So this will emit to the specific user in this namespace. Right? So we are just going. So NSP on, I create another namespace and I can name that NPS dot on. Right? So we can just categorize that. Now on the client side, it's done like this. It's very simple. So when you send HTML, this is the script. We were talking the client side. So /socket.io /socket.io.js. So this is coming from the server, but we require to have this namespace. Okay, on the client side, we cannot use the require, right? So we have to use this one. This is the import, and then inside the script tag, because this is JavaScript. So you see socket.io, I can have the namespace based on my logic. Like I input some value, and based on that, I can say, okay, which namespace to initiate. And then on hi, I can say this function. I can pass the any data here. This will go in as the socket, means this will receive on, right? This is the receiver hi. So if you see, I say emit hi. So this is my custom event, right? I say hey, hi, or message. I can do any name, and this will be called on the client side. You will receive the data here. You can put it any, you can write any logic basically. Make sense, guys? So you see, the client, if you don't write this namespace, by default, it will connect to the default. But if you provide the namespace, it will connect to the specific namespace you have provided. If there is two namespace, it will connect automatically to the specific namespace, and the logic within that it will be called. And I'm using the custom emit, right? This is for emitting the custom event. I have the hi event, which is written as an on, right? So this is like mapping manually. This event will trigger and we will get the information. Make sense, guys? No, Venture, not for each user, group of user, right? Everyone default. So what happened? Let's say you have big hall for now. Everyone enter the same hall. That's the default. Then what do? You create little partition that based on the interest. Okay, for registration, go to this block. For any customer inquiry, go to this block. Like it's different groups, right? Same entry point is same, but within our same hall, we have different groups. So yeah, you can consider as a group, right? Type of user. Right? So let's say on the client side, I have the logic. I provide the user the option that what you are seeking. Same way, when you make a call center, a call, same number is used, but they ask, okay, press 1 for general inquiry, press 2 for specific hardware, software inquiry, like that. So you enter specific queue, right? It's something like that. So here I can write the logic based on the user selection. I have dropped down that I want to interested in Java. So when it's Java, I say, okay, go to namespace Java. So those users are connected to the Java, the namespace. When you send the message, it will go to all Java user, not to other user. Right? It's like, maybe we can say it's subscribing to specific topic. Make sense, guys? Okay, so one-on-one, we have to maintain that. We have to one-on-one, we have to maintain that. Okay, this is my friend. I want to send a message. So we have to write the logic. So what happened? Let's say you and me and Armin is chatting private. So what I do, I have the socket default, but when I send the payload, I will write to whom I'm sending the message. I will say I want to Armin send. So in the server side, I will check which socket is assigned to the Armin. Okay, this one. So Armin, right? I can say, okay, send. So it will send to the Armin if it is online. It's like that. So we have to write the logic, right? Yeah. So each connection is a unique. So when you send the information, you can send a custom payload. By default, it has the client, the default information, but we have to write, this is the customization, right? So it's provided the payload you can send, what information you are sending, what is your username, to whom you want to send, like that. And then based on the condition, you initiate that socket and send the message, right? So let me go to the rooms, right? So this is now the specific one. So whenever you have the rooms, so it has the multiple socket within the groups. So let's say you are connecting. So namespace is just organization of the user, all the sockets. But whenever say the room, So specific interest. So one socket can listen to multiple. So see, in the namespace, only one socket is added to one namespace. But in the rooms, you are interested in two topics to discuss. So you can join that room. So you will be placed in some of the room that, okay, if someone send a message from this group, these guys can also receive. If another group is subscribed, you can also send that. Same as WhatsApp group, you are part of two groups, right? And when you say the namespace, all the Toronto subscriber goes to single namespace, right? Yeah. Now here, client, you can have rooms election. So let's see what's there. So within each namespace, you see, now categorizing the namespace. So all the Toronto user are under the Toronto namespace. All the Ottawa region people are under the Ottawa namespace, let's say like that. But from there, we can divide that into the particular room. So Toronto people want to discuss about the weather, discuss about some current topics, discuss about some spots. So we create the rooms. So within the each namespace, you can also define arbitrary channels. So channels is specific interest that socket can join and leave. So see, if this socket means client socket has the control that, okay, I want to join this, i want to I want to join this group, I want to join this group. But in namespace, based on the condition, you say, okay, you are joining that, right? So we are providing the choice. These channels are called rooms. It can be used to broadcast. You see, whatever message is available to that group, or the, we can say, the room, you can broadcast that, okay, send message to all. So we can subscribe to that. So it's a subset of the client. Room also share the same socket connecting like namespace. It uses the same connection, just user organization. One thing to keep in mind while using the room is that join on the server side. You see, you say, okay, I want to join this room. You pass the information Java. It will search the Java socket, Java room, and it will add it. So we'll see how it's done. So now you see how it's done. io.2. If I want to broadcast any message, I can say Java emit. So this will send message to all the sockets connected, means join this room, will receive this message. Welcome to Java group. So those who join to the Java, you can send message like this. Now we can also send to multiple rooms like this. To, if I join 3 groups and owned by the one user, like space user, we can send room to. So this will send to multiple room. Same room means multiple room, but whatever the user are there, like 5 user are here, 3 user are here, 1 user here. Now what happened? The user can be same, like one user is same, join room 1, same user can join room 2, same user can join room 3. But this is the just joining the specific group of interest. Okay, now let's see here in the example. Okay, so we will write the code, don't worry, I'm just explaining. So this is about sending the index. I'm just writing room number 1 2 3 4 randomly. Now on connection, you see, everything is done after the connection. Now connection is there, you got the socket. So in this socket, you send the information that, okay, my username is this, I want to join this room. You can provide any information, right? Now after reading the information, you can condition and you can join that name. But here let's see, if namespace is slash default namespace adapter dot room. So this is some syntax writing room plus 1. So I'm just creating one room. If that created, and room number 1, right? So dot length is greater than 1, means some users are there. I'm just adding room plus plus, right? So room plus plus, I'm just adding. So let's see, I'm just incrementing the room each time. Socket dot join, you see, I have to say join on the server side. So this socket will join this room, right? Now we can say io.sockets.in. Any user inside this room got this message. connected to room. This is the event. Emit means you are in the room number 1, right? So let's say three client connected, three line client connected. We are writing the logic, right? That joining the room, we join specific room using this join, right? So let's say you got the Java, so you just write the Java. If it is Java, okay, use Java. If it is like node, you join the node, and you can send the message here that okay, user want to send the message to the room, and you can emit, right? So let me give you an example here. You create one application, right? You create the user interface like this in this HTML, and you are providing user three choices. You can join Java group, you can join node, or and you can also join the PHP or the Python group, right? So let's say Python, node, and the Java. Now user can see the list of room. So when I click that room, let's say Java, so on that event I'm sending that okay, this is the socket, payload is containing the user ID if you're providing the name, and date and time, whatever information you want, other information, you provide the name of the room. Okay, room colon Java. Now it will receive the connection here. It will join the room name right away because you have the room in the payload. Socket.data.room. You provide it and it will join that room. So I'm in now Java. And instantly I can send the message here, the room, right? And I can emit, okay, welcome to Java group. So we are just restricting three group. That's why, right? So any name can be passed as a parameter. But if you make a mistake, let's say Java spelling is incorrect, it will create another group. So we need to make sure it should have everything is a manual process. And then emit, whenever you see the emit, you have to write your own event name because emit is the custom event call. I'm passing the room, connect to room. I have the event on the client side. Okay, now you see here, very simple logic. Client library is imported, socket.io. Just create the connection on. So you see event message. So I'm sending the message. Those who join room can see the message. Other group member cannot, other room member cannot see. If you want to leave, okay, close the chat like that. You leave the group like this. Provide the room name. It will automatically disconnect from that group, remove from that. Make sense, guys? So I've just explained the concept, but when we write the code, you will understand, okay, this is how it's written, right? Now, we also have the error handling, right? Connect, successfully connected, connecting, right? It might take some time, disconnected, then connection fail, error, right? So message event is there, reconnect. So all these event, we can handle the error. So now let's see the example. Now you see connection fail on because it's written by default. We can write the message. Sorry, there's some issue with the connection. You can write any message here. Okay, all good, guys. So I'm just explaining like the event. We can add whatever default event is available. We can create our own. Now, moving forward, we will have the test framework, but let's review it. Anyone has any question? We will write the code. I will show you the code and we will dedicate more time for the socket in lab. So in socket, we will do the lab. Okay. Yes. Arya. So how to create the room, right? We don't create the room. So you see, I am connecting in the payload. Let's say in the payload I'm sending, right now connection is there, right? So there will be the socket. This is the listener, right? I'm getting the listener. Now when you are connecting, this is the join. So this is the join and the room. Join this room. If it exists, it will join, right? So this is the unique name provided. Automatically join. Just provide the name of that. So this socket will be inside this room. Just provide the room name. There is no creating the room. We don't create the room. Okay. So same as the namespace. You join the namespace when you connection in the IO, right? When you make the IO, you can write the namespace. So it will connect to the specific namespace. Same way, when the connection is successful, this event will call, and this socket is now added to this. So see, just remember, you are the socket, you are opening some string, but other information is identified with setting the payload, but this is just joining. Okay, now another question, Alan, is that, okay, now let me answer that. So what you have to do, you see, now we have to mix the concept here. Socket is just for communication, right? Now if you want to authenticate the user, if you want to authenticate the users, so how you will do that? Again, you have to create the separate API in the Express, that okay, I'm just giving the flow. You create the login page, you provide username, password, and after successful validating in the MongoDB, you get the response and then go to the next screen, which is the chat screen, like that, right? So custom API we have to write. Sign up, I'm the new chat user, so I have to create the sign up form. I input my information, the record is added in the database. After sign up, I go to the login, I provide the same username, password, again authenticated to the DB, and success, then go to the next screen, which is the chat screen, right? So you have to write the API. So socket cannot do. So there is no way to identify the authenticated user. You are just connecting. Other piece you have to add custom. Make sense, guys? Alan? Okay. Same way log out. When you say log out, so you disconnect. You close the socket, leave room or disconnect. Event can be generated on the click of logout. Right. Thank you, Hanja, for adding middleware. You can see the middleware. Okay. Uh, so what happened? Yes, you can implement JWT, but you see, so see, we are as a developer writing the logic in such a way that we cannot like welcome any conflict, right? So let's say if you provide the same name, right? So there might be a possibility that my password is having the room name, right? But no, what we do when we want to see the room, we provide the user with the list that okay, I'm interested, because when you are going for the chat, you are not providing that uh, you can create the room, right? But when you create the room, that room is saved on the server side, that room name is stored on the server side, right? And server will inform other client that okay, this room is available, so people can join. So room creation is what? Room creation is just the database entry, not creating the socket unless and until some users join. So joining the room is the live scenario, right? There is no offline that okay, room is available, right? And then when you initiate the socket, providing the room name, and you can join that. And the one user is added. If no user added and you join, you are the only one in the room. When you send the message, you can keep that message in the room, but you have to write the logic that okay, the message cannot be seen by other user who join after me, like that. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I want to discuss this one. Maybe let me find the example, right? I before moving to this automation, because I want to write the automation code today, right? So let me go, let me find if I have any example uh, for the socket. Okay. Hmm, okay, no, I don't want to discuss this one. Let me uh, web no, chat. Let me show you the news socket. I found one example. Okay, then we can have the break and then I will start with that. Okay, now let me go to the server. Okay, now this is just about sending the news, right? So you're broadcasting the news who is connected, right? So again, we have the express, we import the express, we are listening to the port 8088, and then I have the require socket.io. If you go here, we have to import like socket.io and the express and the node mode I have used. Now you get the socket, so we don't listen, right? So use static. I just want to make it static node module because client want to use that, right? And then when I open that browser, I will get the home page, right? So I will send the index. Okay, we will see how to do that. And then on connection. So when the connection is available, I have the news available here. I can also create globally outside this one. I can make it global, right? And then I say emit. So when the user is connected, I'm right away sending the news to the news. And on new news. So I can also send the new news available from the client side, and I can log. I can also add in this array, but I'm just logging that. Okay, something is sent from the client side. So this is just server connection, sending data and receiving some event. Now, if you go to the HTML, so I imported this script. I'm connecting. You see, I have to provide where to connect. Right? So I'm connecting to the local host 8088. Maybe you have different port. And then we have the news. So the on means listener, on news. So when the server will send emit news, see the payload, I can customize any payload. I got the data here. I dump it and I'm printing into the, I got the div and I'm printing each information. This is how it works. And after emit, I say, okay, news received, the news received. I can payload anything. I can write the object. Okay, I can also send the object. So I can specify here that username, which is login, room number to join, room to join, or which is the current room, because right currently you can chat only in the one room. If you can provide, unless you provide multiple frame to chat, that this frame is for this room, this frame is for this room, we always differentiate. Like, so everything is a logic. Once you get the message, the server will receive that, okay, news received here. Okay, so now let me run this one. Very simple, because you can work on that. That's why I want to show. So npm install. Okay, let me see, custom script is there. Yeah, npm start. Okay, so I'm running on this 8chat application, running on 8088. Now if I open it here, localhost 8088. Okay, now you see I got the news right away when I join, because this is the page which initiate the socket and receiving the message. But in here, once you connected, you see the response, news connection received, news received, thank you. But I'm not doing anything. But if you want to send anything to other client, you can always use from the pool, right? So I have another example where it maintain the list of user. So this is how it got sent. Now when the user join, when the user connect, right, the socket is there. When you say join, you can have another message on. You can pass, okay, I want to join this room in the data, write div condition, and you can say socket.join. Simply I can write the socket.join. I can provide the room name here, but how? So data dot any key, let's say room, something. So this data will contain the key having the room, and I can join that room. Right, so we will extend it because some base code is required, then we can update faster. Otherwise 2 hours is not enough to finish. So I will share some of the code after writing, and then we'll write other code. Make sense? Nice. Okay, so let me delete. I don't want to upload this one, so I will delete this one. So everything is like writing the code sequentially. I always say like that, right, in a proper way. Okay, so let's have a 10 minutes break, and then we will see the automation, and I will try to explain small code with the Mocha, right? And then we can spend more time on the socket. Okay, so let's have a 10 minutes break, guys. So this is lengthy but interesting. Yeah, thanks. Okay, I need little break. Could you please send me the student ID? You? Okay, yeah, thank you. So let me try to add. Yeah, can you see now? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so everyone back? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's continue with the automation framework. Okay, so anyone have done any web testing, right? Writing anywhere? Okay, yeah. So what framework you used? Chai. Okay, Mocha Chai. Okay, good. Okay, Jest can be used. Yes. Okay, API. You can use the Postman for that. Python request mainly. Yeah, you can also use the Python, right? So you can have the like high level. We can say the programmatic, right? So you can use the Selenium for web testing, right? So you can also use the UI testing there. For API, you can use the Postman, but those are the options, right? But Selenium web testing, you can have the APM. So I want to show you, right, that testing framework. So I will set up my machine again and I will show you that I haven't shown for the DevOps, right, the mobile testing. So I will introduce that Selenium there, uh, just for your knowledge. Okay, so here in the web testing, you can have any framework for writing. So we are having the Mocha Chai, we are going to see, but there is also core API available. When I say the API means the classes available or the code specification available to write the automation. So every language has that. So unit testing, we are doing the unit testing, right? So Java has JUnit, right? So you can also write some unit testing in the .NET application, also in the PHP Python. So all are have their uh, framework available, right? So same way here we will see how to write the test cases, and we will just write the unit small unit testing, right? So why we write automation, right? Just to minimize the effort or to perform repetitive tasks faster, right? So we can also increase the productivity, we can increase the quality of our software, right? So all those reasons, right? Lots of more reason, but we do the testing. So coding standard, we also follow the coding standard, test data handling, object repository treatment, like how we are maintaining our test cases. So lots of concepts are involved here, right? So but whenever we see the test cases here, it looks different if you work with the JUnit in the Java. So let's say there are some of testing framework, linear scripting, test library architecture available, hard data driven testing, like you pass the data uh, using the XML or CSV file, right, and can perform the testing, right, based on some conditional or the table driven testing. Yes? So we have seen the BDD, like we are just writing the test cases and data within that feature file, right? And we can also do the mix of that, like UI or unit testing together, right? But here we need to do the Mocha, right? So this is similar to like BDD. When we write the testing, we are also writing the specification that this test case is for what. So we have the describe, eat, right? So those terms are used. So Mocha is a feature in JavaScript test framework running on the Node.js. So we are using the Node.js. So I'm just having the Mocha, but we will also see some core, like the inbuilt API available. Okay. And in the browser, making asynchronous testing simple and the fun. So you can also have the asynchronous feature available, right? And Mocha is a module available. So I have put some of the link, you can try there, right? Just to read in the detail. So Mocha is test library or the module available for the Node.js, right? And it's under the BDD, like behavioral driven testing. So we have seen the, I have shown the Cucumber, some code like feature file. So you can look, it's look like the similar, right? And how we can add the mocha like this. See, mocha and the chai. So we need to add it together. So npm install save. We have to add the module mocha and the chai. Now, if I can open in the new, let me see, copy link and let me open mocha. So this is the official website you can use, right, to refer documentation. Okay, so, and I will discuss some of the examples from here. So we just need to understand the construct here, right? How it is written. Now here, let me explain the small code snippet, right? So we have the describe keyword. Remember, describe asset for making sure, right? So let's see how it's. So this is very basic. Like we don't write any. Let's say we don't want to see any mocha or any library installation. So we have the import like asset. Import the asset module from there, and based on this asset, like we can write the condition. Okay, yeah. So what we do, so we have to write the group of testing, that okay, describe array. So here you can write anything, that okay, testing array, example, testing employee array, testing inserting array. So you can write the name, the group here, and it's a function. So you can also replace with the arrow function, but I just wrote the function just to make it clear that okay, this is a function. And within that, you can write multiple describe. Right, so there is a group of the test which is the at the top. Then you write multiple test case, that okay, in from for the array test, you say you want to test the index out of bound, you want to insert the new value and want to verify, you want to remove one value and have to want to verify, right? You want to check the length, it should not be have more than this element. So you can write multiple describe within this describe. So this is the group, right? So I think this concept is not there in JUnit, right? You cannot group like this. Have you seen that? How we can group the test cases? In the JUnit, like if you have seen anywhere, we just write separate file and we write test case at the rate test. We write all the functions there, right? See, separate file. We can group in a file, but here there is no restriction like file. So we can write any number of tests within this block. When you execute, automatically it does. So here what we are doing, it, just remember, this is the actual condition check. Now here you will see the actual block. So it is written. So in Java, we don't write, we write the at the rate begin test, right? Or for all test and test, right? So we have the annotation there. So here we just use the it. So this is the one test within this block. So let's say we are making it behavioral, BDD, right? So documentation is also done like this. So you write the statement that okay, should return -1 when the value is not present. So this is my end user statement. Okay, should return true when there is no value, when there is one value, like that. You can write any English statement here. This is anything, nothing to do with the test. This is specific description, like we can say the statement which user can understand, and it has a function, and you can write the assert. So assert is the class used, equal, not equal, right, greater than, less than. So you can make the condition. So what happened, we are checking for equality. We have the values, index of 4 is -1. So what this will return, true or false. According to this condition, we are checking for equality. Is this -1 or other value? True, right? So it's written true because you see 4 is not there, 0, 1 and 2. So index of 4 is not there, so -1. If it is equal, not equal, then false, right? So we need to check whether, let's say, username password should match. So, or the password format should match. I want to validate that test case. When I'm creating the object of student, whatever the information I'm providing should be valid when I'm checking again in the object, like that. So we have the equal, not equal. So there are lots of conditional available, right? So here we can say describe is a function which holds a collection of tests. It takes two parameters. First one is the meaningful name of the functionality, and second one is a function. Okay, so this is the collection. Now what is the assert? Help to determine the status of the test. We determine the failure of the test, true or false. Yes, Fatih, you can use that. Right? You can use any library you known to. It's not uh, specific, right? But we pick the Mocha here. So it is a function again, which is actually a test itself. You see, this is actually a test. We are writing every logic within this one, and take two parameters. First name is the name, and second parameter is the function which hold the body of that. So actual test is written here. Okay. Now let's move forward and the chai. So this is the core asset. When you have the chai, so there, what is the difference? So when you have the Mocha chai, so there's a framework like should, expect, assert. So there are meaning, there is different function available basically. Right? There is a different function available basically, right? So I haven't documented all, but we can refer that tutorial when we are referring. Right? So assertion, so is an expression which helps system to know code under test failed. Right? So we are just assert. Assert's job is to throw error when things are not correct. And assert takes the expression and it does not nothing when expression passes, right? So we have different way of writing that statement. We will see those example. We can just throw the exception to the fail, so it's automatically throwing the exception when the condition doesn't match, right? So now let's say I have one scenario. Okay, let's discuss that. So I want to validate the username and password, right? I want to validate the user for authenticity, that okay, whether the logic which I have written is correct or not for user authentication. So I am writing two test cases, one for correct user and one for invalid user, right? So what I'm doing, I am passing username and password which is available in the database. So I say assert equal, so it's written true or false basically, right? So where what I do, I pass the username and password as a parameter. Now, what's the next step to do? How I can validate the user is correct or not? Anyone can answer. How I can validate that user is correct or not? What I will do? Okay, I have the okay expect. Okay, no, but what step is involved? How I can initiate the validation code? Should I make a API call? Should I make our function call? Like what to call? Okay, I want to validate the user is correct or not. Okay, in the database. Okay, I got one answer. Okay, I will directly check in the database. Okay, that's correct. Okay, another one, another answer. Anyone? What I can have another alternative? Okay, we can call the endpoint or the service function with email ID password parameter. Okay, yes. Anyone else? Okay, now so here you see what is verification database. Okay, verifying the database, logging registration function. Okay, good. Okay, now let me explain the scenario. So you might have lots of answer and maybe confusion that what to call, but you answer. So thank you for your answer. So what the purpose, like what we are validating, what we want to validate, that's the main concern here, right? And then we can initiate the process of validation. So here I want to validate the logic which I have written, right? That the user password is valid or not. I'm not making any API call. I have the function written which will return true or false or some response based on user ID password I have sent. So I already mentioned that. Okay, the function which contain the service, right? Means the service which contain the function, or Arman say the login register function. So I have the logic there. I have the class that okay, validate user dot login, right? That is the function. So I will not write any API to make a call, or I will not connect to the database. So that's the different type of testing. I'm validating whether the database contains this user or not. I want to see whether my logic logic works or not for the username password, which I have provided, which is correct. So I will call that class dot login, pass the username password. It will return me the response, and I will check assert true or false or expect whatever I can use based on the library, right? So what happened if I know my username password is correct, it's in database. So my logic should return true, that this user exists. Means if I get the true, means user, means this test case pass. Make sense, guys? Now, if I pass wrong username password, it should return me the false. It should return me the false, right? So if I get the false, means my test case pass, because I'm passing wrong and I'm getting the false, means my logic is correct. My test case is correct. Okay. Again, Arman, we don't want to navigate. So that's the UI testing now. What happened? I have the username password. I input automatically in the text box. I press the button login, successful response. I navigate to the dashboard and I validate. Just a minute. Sorry. Okay, so that's the UI testing. We do want to do the unit testing, whether our code written is correct or not. Right. So we need to validate whether we are on dashboard or not by getting some information. Right. So we don't want to do dashboard loading, just validate. That's why the code should be independent. We always say, right, when we're writing the test, for that it should be uniquely tested. That's why we write the function to validate. If you write the whole logic randomly somewhere, if condition, it won't, you cannot test that separately, right? So that's the developer job, to organize the code in small pieces that you can validate that code separately, right? So make sense, guys? Hey, yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah, you can test separately. We try to minimize, right? We have to write a code in such a way that we can uniquely test that, and we can also have the multiple. Yeah. Okay, now let's move setup. Like we just write the script npm test, we just write npm test, we can run with the mocha report specification. This is just line, so it will automatically search for the test and find it. Okay, so we will see how to write that piece of code, and you can refer the documentation. Like I have given this REST API mocha chai, getting started with the node. I just put some of the tutorial for a reference. Okay. Now, yeah, yeah, let me show you one example. Let me find it if I have. So we will write that example. Mocha. Yes, so remember, Arman, what happened when the QA job, right? So it may be manual testing or it can be automated, right? So there's the two part. Now, for unit testing, developer do that. Developer write the unit test to validate the piece of code, right? So that's the one job. Apart from writing, the additional job we can say, but that's the job of the developer, to unit test the code, right? So you write the code and then you test it. But now we, TDD is that test driven development. So what happened? You write the test cases first, and then you keep writing the code until the test case get pass. Yes, yes, yeah, that's the feature writing and unit testing is the job, right? Yeah, so they ask, right? Sometimes like we don't write, but for like big project we write. Yeah, so means this is not requirement for all the job, but we do, like when there is a test driven development, right, for some critical projects. So you write the test case, keep writing the logic until you pass the test cases, right? Yeah, I was also doing the same thing, like, but now I'm interested more, like since last 6 7 year, when I see the automation Selenium, I started writing. Yeah. Until the green, right? So that is good. Okay, now okay, I'm finding the logic. Okay, so let me show you. I think I closed that one. Okay, so we will use that. We will write this the same piece of code step by. So I'm just writing the conversion, right? We can write any logic because how it is written, I will show you, right? Right. So now, okay, let me close all the file. So very simple logic, right? Very simple steps to write this, right? So what you have to do? Okay, so what happened? Let's say, let's consider your JavaScript code. This is not about like API testing or anything. You can do anything with this framework. So what you want to do? Let's say you wrote one function, right? So that function converts the string into the uppercase. You have another function that converts to the lower case. So now what you have to validate? What you have to validate for that function, right? For that function you have written, or maybe it validating the password format. So what happened? You have that function. Now you write the test case, describe, and set it, validating the format of the password, correct format, right? And then you assert and you pass the password which you want to validate, hard coded, right? This is hard code value. And you call that function. That function will return the value, right? You pass the password, it will return the true or false or the whatever the response is sending, and you compare based on the requirement. Compare that, okay, it's true, means my password is correct format. If it's written false, I have to do little bit more changes. So you can write specific. Your password logic says it must contain one numeric, start with alphabet, must contain uppercase, must contain at the rate, and length should be 5. So these are the all the criteria. So you can create various password which misses one of the one of the criteria. You should get false all the time, and you provide one password with all the information. It will give true. Means what happened? Our logic is correct. So that function is validated by multiple test cases, right? So same thing. You have the class. You want to validate something, the function. You create the object. You pass the value. You get the response, and you validate against your input, like that, right? So here I have the application. So converter server, like let's see the converter. So I'm doing, I'm writing one function, passing red, green, blue. I'm converting to the hexadecimal. It's returning me some value, right? RGB value, FF or whatever. I can do the padding, right? So these are some functions available. Okay. Now I have utility function that I'm calculating the power. I have the logic to write the power, right? So in the power, I want to say x raised to n, whatever the number I want. So 2 raised to 2 or 2 raised to 5. So it should, this is my logic. So whenever I initiate this function, it should return me the expected value. So let's say this is the server I'm writing for the endpoint. So this is very different. We don't want to test that one, but let's go to the folder named test. So we are organizing in better folder, app and the test. Now converter. So see how it's written. So just see the logic. We will write for upper lower, color code converter, RGB to hex converter. I have the logic that, okay, convert the base color. So what I'm doing, I'm passing 255, 255, 255. So what should be the response, guys? What should be the response? Let's say, what should be the response here? So this should return F, like F0. This is my response, right? Converting decimal to the hex. So 255 means maximum color. So it should return FF00000 like this. See, so this is the correct for this one. So what happened? Expect. I'm writing expect. I'm passing the value comparison, right? To FF. So actually the call makes here, I am just using my logic here, converter dot adjust. This is returning me some value, let's say password validation, right? And I'm comparing against my value. So I'm expecting FFF00 for this return value. If it is matching, it pass. Green value, FF, it pass. Blue value, it should pass because all are valid. This is validation testing, right? So you see, this is not a big rocket science. You have the logic, and in the test case, what you do, you compare return value with what you're expecting. If it doesn't return expected value, the test got failed. Means you are, say some tests are failed, but you are correct. You want to fail the test because you are validating against the wrong value to compare. So, but what's the reason? Like we are separating the logic for testing and the actual logic, business logic. So this is written. Now again, one more test. I'm passing hexadecimal and returning the decimal like this, the array of values. So I'm comparing. So deep keyword is used to compare all the array value. If you say equal, right, directly it compare 1 to 1. But when we say deep, it compare each value. So this is the keyword provided by the Mocha, right? So I say red value. So red will should return array of this value. First is red, green, and blue. I'm comparing. So you have to find how you can compare. But if you don't want to compare like this, if you don't want to use this deep, you can loop through this array and check for the first value should be 255 and other value should be 0 and all should return true. Then I can compare. You can have our custom logic, but in the test writing, we have our own way of writing. Okay, so this is what we are doing. Now, another one, I'm just directly comparing. So before, after, we can write it before each test. So test one should return one like that. So this is simple way of writing, right? So we can write, and the API testing can also be done. I'm passing this one. It should return API should be exist. This is more and util power. This is very simple one. I'm writing make test, passing the value x, 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 x. I'm just making myself, right? I'm comparing, and then I'm validating that okay, x raised to 3, what I'm expecting. This is the assertion. So it's just basically writing the logic. Right now, if you want to run, so we can write it, but let me do it. npm install. Okay. And then if you see, I'm using the script Mocha. You can use the Mocha. This is for running the server. I'm using the Mocha, and library is this chai and Mocha. Okay. You will see that. Now, npm test. If I don't want to use npm test, I can write this one. Okay. Some will fail, I know, because we haven't started the server, right? You see, this will fail. API is failing because we haven't started the server, right? But you see at the top, RGB to hex conversion pass. So see, this is also documenting something. Color code converter. So this is my test. Color code converter. RGB to hex conversion. RGB to hex conversion. Right? Converts the basic color. This got pass. Right? If I temper this one, I put the F. So this is not I'm expecting. Right? So this might got fail. Let's do it again. Okay, let me clear it and run it. Okay, I think it's not cleaning up. Power pass. Okay, API. Okay, you see, convert the basic color. This got fail. It's not green color. One test got fail. Right? So this is not passing. So because we are expecting FF0000, but we are comparing with this one, right? So failing means we want to fail that because this, so we can fix that one. Okay, let's compare like this, right? And then this also got passed, another test, convert, right? Hex to RGB and the convert. So this is another test in the same group. Now sample test, I'm comparing before all tests got passed. So it automatically run all the file in the test. So we don't have to worry about that. Everything within the test folder will be tested. And then this API will fail because I haven't started the server. Now let me clear it. Okay, and then I can start npm start. So API is started. I'm also testing my web application. If I go back, I run it. Sorry. 3000 error event server. What I have run? Okay, sorry, I did the wrong call. I have to do the npm test. Okay, now you say all tests passed, all tests get clear because my API is now running, so I can test this server. That okay. This is my endpoint I want to initiate. When I initiate with the response, right? So this is the library use request, right? Request library is used. When the response status is 200 means I am success. I'm not checking the response. I'm just checking the status code 200. For another value, I'm passing this value. It should work like that. Okay, so this is another endpoint. I'm passing the value. So this is what? This is the endpoint I'm calling to convert, right? So I can also taste like that. Make sense, guys? Yeah, you can use other other framework available, right? So I can pick only limited, right? But I'm just showing you you can work around like with the other options, right? Now again we will write some test case fast, okay? But I want to discuss the assignment because this is the our all people, right? So let me open that one. Okay, so now I'm done with the content. I just want to discuss the assignment one. You can recommend me if you require any changes. Can you see the screen? Okay, I will upload it later. Can you see the document? Oh, okay. Just a minute. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I can see it. Can you see now? Okay, so now let me explain. You can refer the document, this recording again if you miss it, or you can ask me in the lab and I will release this one. I want to release this week. So what you have to do, basically it's creating the Airbnb. I just name it Airbnb. It can be anything, right? I just want to make it little fun, right? So I just say creating Airbnb, right? GraphQL API. Remember, don't create any Express REST API. We are interested only in the GraphQL. Remember, GraphQL API, right? If you write the any endpoint means any API without this one, you will lose the marks, right? Now, demonstrating the knowledge about the GraphQL. So you can refer any code work, right? We have the creating the Node.js application. So this is the name given. Also create the Git repository. Okay. Also create the Git repository. So there is a 10 marks allowed. Yeah, you can submit Omar. That's fine. I just want the repository there with this name, folder name, you can say. Okay. Now, this is the name of the project, name of the repository. Now, you have to use the MongoDB to store all the data in the MongoDB Atlas Cloud. So name of the database should be like this, database name. And think of your own name for saving hotel, user info, and the booking. So remember, you can define your own collection name. I am not giving you. Give the proper name because you might require some extra table if you want to implement your own logic. Okay, you're free to do that. I say okay, 3 namespace, sorry, 3 collection, but you require 5 collection. You can use that. Okay, make sense, guys? Think of your own collections name. Okay, anyone, any doubt? Okay, so I just provide saving hotel user info and the booking info, I just give the idea that, okay, you can have the name, right? Not hotel name. I'm asking you to have the collection name, collection, that, okay, I want to name hotel table, user table, like that. Okay, so this is the about the DB. And then I just give create the hotel. When you want to create the hotel, only admin user can do. Create hotel by admin user. Okay, only admin users. So I will show you multiple types. So you can add the hotel, but these are the field you want to consider. You create the MongoDB, whatever concept we have learned, right? With the GraphQL, whatever, right? We can create the model. So I didn't discuss that you have to create the model, but you have to use the Mongoose. If you don't use, it will trouble you. So hotel ID is the field name, hotel name, street name, city ID, right? So you have to add all the hotel, but you see there is a one field user who added this, right? So this is the child table of the user, we can say. Okay, this is an individual, Ravi. This is not a group. Okay? No group assignment is there. Okay, so you add the hotel, you have this field. Now remember, you can add your own field if you like, but I want this information. I want this information that user should do. And this field are required. You can add more, right? If you like to add web URL, description, right? You can add any more information if you are willing to do. So description, like you can also have the image URL. You can do anything, right? Basically, just to show the hotel. I didn't provide that. That's the optional, but I just want to see you can create the. No, this is just, yeah, you can do that, but this is the back end. So you have to find the data, right? But when you create the front end, you have the input screen. You have input screen, you provide the interface and enter and say save hotel, like that, right? You can also, we can also do the error handling, right? That but we don't check here, but I say, okay, all are mandatory field, right? So we'll do that. So hotel creation. So these are the one record information. Make sense, guys? Everyone clear? This is the hotel. Okay, now what this is for one API. This is one API to create the new hotel. This is the saving post request, right? But we don't have the post in the GraphQL. So remember, but I'm just explaining. And then another endpoint, list all hotels. So when you make an endpoint, give me all hotels. So from the hotel table, you will list all the hotels, right? Yes. So Vanja, you can add anything, right? So this is up to you. You can add your own implementation, right? I just say, okay, Airbnb, but I just want to do the hotel. You can categorize resident, but it will make you complex. You have to add more endpoints. Yes, it's 19th February, week 6 and yeah, don't worry. I will explain that, right? But you will get the idea, so you can explore. Okay, you can explore. So 19th Feb is the Saturday or Sunday. See, I always miss this. I always miss because this is the last. So it should be 20. Yeah, thank you for that. So 20th. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, now this is the hotel. You can add information, but document everything when you change. So list all hotels. So again, Vanja, you have restaurant or resident, you can categorize it, right? But I just make it simple. List all hotels. So it will give me all the information that, okay, this is the hotel. Now then after, I want to get the hotel by user, means book hotel by user, right? I want to book the hotel. So what I did, I got the hotel, I say book button. So no checking of availability or anything. Okay, no need to check anything, availability, that hotel is available, room is available, no, nothing, just yeah, so don't worry, I will introduce that one. Okay, so just think of that. Okay, I will give time. Don't worry about that because GraphQL is covered in the 6, but I will try to cover in the week 5. It's very easy, right? But you can just start exploring by your your side. Okay, I can add more week later. Okay, okay. Now hotel booking date where you book, starting. This is the current date where you book, starting date from where you want to book, and up to what. Just simple API. No need to make it complex. That which room is available. Nothing. Just they will manage offline. Okay. This is just demonstration. Like we can expand that later. So book hotel by the user. So only use login user can book something like that. So you have to pass the username which will book. Make sense? And you can also have the booking ID. You can add the booking ID at the top. Okay. Do you want me to add booking ID here? Booking ID. Okay, I'm just writing something, right? You can have any value here. Okay, booking ID, hotel ID, booking ID, right? Yeah. Now you book the hotel, search the hotel by name or the city. You see, you can provide the name or city, it will list. So you can search by the hotel. So in the interface, you have the one text box. You can put the name or the city. It will search in the database. It will give the list of hotel by their criteria. You can change the criteria if you want, but there is no by ID. Name, location, postal code, a description you can write based on your search hotel by. Make sense, guys, up to this endpoint? Okay. Now, you can also list all your booking by user. So what happened? I'm logging to the system. I want to see my booking, all history or future, whatever. So I have one option, click that. It will give me all my booking. Don't worry about future book or the past book. Just list all the bookings, right? And you can show that, okay, I booked this hotel on this date from this date to this date, right? Something like that. So no payment information, nothing, right? And then this is only login. Then you can create the profile. You can sign up. You can sign up form. So sign up form is there. You can provide the option to select your admin or the customer. Okay, don't worry about any complex logic. That you can say, okay, I'm admin, I am customer, but the username should be unique. When I'm login, it's automatically considered that, okay, this is admin, then only allow to add, right? If I am the customer, I can search the hotel, I can book the hotel, and I can list my history of the booking, right? So that's the operation. And you can have the login API. You can have the login API. You provide username and password. If it is valid, allow to go to next page, search the hotel, book the hotel, and see the history and log out option. You can optionally implement the JWT if you want. Make sense, guys? Okay, again, so you see, I just give you the simple description and explain it. If you want any UI, more description, right, I can write that, okay, user can do this task. But I hope everyone understand. All good? So let me, okay, so I have updated like what you have to submit. So remember, submit the zip file, put the screenshot of GraphQL queries and the MongoDB. Postman, you create the small project. I will show you because Postman is the easiest way to do that. So create the Postman project, which will have all the queries. So I can test that. Upload zip file, right? And GitHub link. So there is a marks for all. GitHub contains 10 point. Postman project contain 10 points. And I say 8 point for each API, but I will update this one. I think there should be the more points. Yeah, that's the individual. Yes. And remember, you have to create the user interface in the Angular using this backend. There will be no backend available. You have to create your own this backend. use this backend, and then create the front end. So this is mandatory. So 24%, 25%. I think 12% is there, right? So if you have any question, I will upload this one. Okay, again, I will review it. So due date, I have put the 20th, but again, this is suspicious, right? So I can change based on what we cover. Yes, Farah, yeah. This is the backend for the assignment too. So you can work on another, but I want Angular. Make sense, guys? So do you want any changes or do you want to add anything? March 30, no, this is not possible. So this is the week 3, 4, 5, and 6th week. So 20th. In 7th week, we have the midterm. Yes, 7 is the midterm, and 8 we have break time. Yeah. Okay. So this is very interesting. Don't think like, okay, I have give less time or we haven't covered the topic, but you just understand single time, you can do anything. It's okay. It's written like that, right? So I want to make it cover a little bit earlier because this is very interesting. So if I say REST API, it doesn't mean. That's why I put mandatory GraphQL, right? No, Rohan, 14. So week 6. Okay, let's review. So don't bother about the topic cover, right? I can explain that. Okay, so so you see, this is a 6th GraphQL, right? But you see, you can start creating the mongoose. So, and I will introduce the GraphQL. So I will introduce all those content in the week 4 because we already seen that, right? Mongoose sorting. So these are small functions. So I will not waste time. I will introduce GraphQL right away in this week 5, right? So you can work on Mongoose, MongoDB, everything, right? Creating the, okay. Okay. So again, don't panic or right feel stress. It's very interesting. You will like that. You will finish on time, I know. And if it require, we will change the date, right? We will change the date. Okay, so I will cover this point in this week. Okay. Yeah. So what do? You know the MongoDB. So what you can do, you create the repository, you create the Mongo database, make the connection, you create the a model, right? Whatever model you require, right? Then we will add other logic. So I know that in the GraphQL, you just have to call the function. You don't have to do anything. You just have to call the functions. Okay, you will say, okay, oh, you will surprise that, okay, what is this? You just write the logic to fetch the record and you just make a call to that function in the API, right? Okay, so next week I will show you small project with the GraphQL, so you will get the idea that how to do that. Okay, next week. I need more hour, like I can have 3-hour lecture. Yeah, quiz, I think quiz is open. You can see lecture quiz. Can you check? Okay, I have to make it available. Okay, let me stop recording. So can you verify quiz is available or not?